Good morning, it's June 9th, and today we're going to follow up on our conversation we had yesterday about Chinese imports and exports. On the Longbow dashboard today, I've given you a few securities that deal with EM, and let's head over there now. So here what I've got is CUBS, that's the Asian Growth CUBS ETF, CHIX, that's the Global X MSCI China Financials ETF, EMLC, the VanEck JPM EM local currency bond. I've got another EM bond. That's the Spider Bloomberg EB, N is in Nancy, D. And then also I gave you the dollar because obviously the dollar matters, especially when we're dealing with EM. And you probably have seen some of these tickers if you go onto the Longbow site, because on the top 25, the first four are on the right-hand side of the page for the greatest asymmetry to the downside, meaning they're in the overbought or nearly overbought area, and some of the best odds to the downside. So that means if you've been long, you're looking to trim or protect those positions. If you're short it or looking to short it, you obviously don't want to just look at the trading range. You want to look at other signals. Let's head over to CUBS now and we'll kind of see what that looks like. So the security price, and again, this has a number of emerging markets in there. But let's go and we can see, boom, top end of the range. So even though it has been kind of muddling around, so it's bullish short term, the security prices, but it's been neutral in the medium term because it's really just bouncing around it. But as we've seen, it's hitting the top end of the range. It's partying like the US markets are here. So this is one of those that if you're trading around it, you obviously would want to trim. And then China Financials, very close to the top end of the range for this one. Obviously on a bull run since November. And then what do we see here? But it's been in the intermediate term and neutral short term. And that's because you see it's kind of starting here in February and we're ending up in the same place. So had a big ramp up in May and then it's come back down a little bit more. But it's trading an implied volatility premium, not a lot of short interest. So this is one of those, if you're interested in Chinese financials, if you think that there's strength in the economy there, it is at the top of the range, so it's not where you go in now. You're going to be waiting till that hits the bottom end of the range because it has a minus 5.4 to 1 downside odd. And then we're also overbought. The signals are flashing are on the emerging market local currency bonds, the EMLC, EBND. The odds aren't terrible. So what that tells me is that the ranges are going to be really tight. So obviously this has been on a tear, but if we move this back, the range is super tight. So this is one of those you could really use the range to trade with. So, buy it at the low end of the range, sell at the top end of the range, buy it at the low range, sell, buy, sell. So you really have here trading ranges that work on that security. And the UUP, so it's not at the oversold level. So that tells me that these might have still a little bit more room to run because if the dollar goes down, that could occur. But then again, it could be bouncing around in its own range. And if the dollar goes up, we would expect these to maybe not look as good because emerging markets often get hit when the dollar strengthens. So that's just to help you put a few things together. When we're talking about EM, we're talking about EM imports and exports, and we're looking at individual securities that not only you can be following on your general tab, but when they're all showing up together on the top 25, be a little bit careful when they're at the overbought, near overbought, and highest asymmetry to the downside list. That's it for today. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you back on Monday.